We have a wonderful, sweet little boy in our family, my nephew, and he doesn't sleep well. And yesterday I said to my brother, man, somehow get him the sleeping kennel from them at the IMO pen. And with the result that all three were beamed away and somehow slept really well. And today he tells me how great that was. And then we asked ourselves, that's just how we are at the moment. We reflect on what we hear, what we experience, also through all the meditations and so on, and ask, yes, now we have the opportunity. Actually, starting from scratch with the small one, i.e., doing something a little better that perhaps didn't go so well for us. And that's a real task, but if you somehow mess up yourself, to make the right decision, so to speak. But I found the neuros thing quite funny. But I have to pay attention to something. I know to say, in these videos before the neuros, children at that age are basically still in the areas of such and such and such. Or is that so you can do something too much? Yeah, I don't know.
Pay attention. So the basic question is actually what values are. What values can you build on to be a happy person? There are hardly any role models. And at some point I decided, in my early form of deification retreat, to take away the near-death values, to be connected, to be reconciled, to be in universal empathy with the opposites, so to simply stand by it. Compassion is my essence. It is not some special ethical act. Being playful, playful lightness, something like that. So these values, all of them that come back from the near-death area, because the near-death realm is just something outside of this culture, it was excluded in this culture. It's nothing supernatural. And if you now say exactly sleep enforcer or something like that, to be safe, for example, you could also play, which also corresponds to the language of the icons. You will do it intuitively. What you would give someone as a blessing. If you strengthen this side of him, you won't go wrong. From school onwards, they just repeat the same crap, like in a monastery school. So in the GDR, it was always the materialistic worldview. It has been scientifically proven, and everyone who doesn't have it is a swagger. The word didn't exist back then. There were no aluminum hat racks either, because aluminum was scarce. What was that? Superstitious or something like that. Or weak personalities in need of comfort. This drove me to be a weak personality so as not to fall into the clutches of the civil rights movement. So those who don't believe the cultural sect are insulted, and their self-esteem is attacked. So they are put under so much pressure and then put in competition with each other and in comparison. So the values of society are not taught as words but as a setting, right at the action level, like trees that are too close together and the parents take over and become agents of the school values. Your brother can do it too, or I could do it too. Why not you? Why disappoint me? Child, I'm scared. You can't study, and you'll be long at the checkout at Aldi or at the bridge. Bullshit. Tell your children to become craftsmen in every crisis. So the craftsmen from my house drove up here with motorcycles and cars, which was unbelievable, and they were so fully booked. For the third year now, we haven't had anyone to drill the well, for example. We just don't want a hand pump in the garden. We just can't get an appointment. So instead of running after any educational policy measures, mothers and fathers, take a look. Anyone who studies may study forever, and also for the sake of unemployment, because some new trend, and then you won't be needed as an ecotrophologist or something like that. People who really create value are people who work with their hands, and especially the rich. And what do I know? Ecky's carpenter brother didn't study. He immediately earned money and worked with precious woods for rich people from Hamburg. So you can specialize like that. Another carpenter who didn't have time away from my house either. So of course Eckes didn't have any time away from my house either. He specialized in stair railings and restoring old buildings. It's crazy how much specialization there is for carpenters for stair railings. And so forth. So the parents are just stupid if they convince the child that you'll go under the bridge. Yes, maybe it ends up under a bridge and then becomes like Christine Thurmer, who, as a light-equipped ultra-outdoors woman, sometimes cracks a construction trailer in order not to freeze to death somewhere. And man, she is such a great creature, and she was so unathletic and always fell off the beam at school. So sport was her worst subject at school, and now she hikes 33 kilometers every day through the most amazing landscapes and doesn't even have to pay much for it and gets healthy like a pig, even though she's almost completely rubbish, and never says she was so happy because she is free to decide what she does. And, like in Mystique, reminds us of the basic values of life, even if not everyone is going that way now. So that's what I mean by that. Anything where you strengthen self-love in the child, trust yourself, and reduce fears. So, again, the values that Ignatius of Loyola, the black magician always scares people. In the truest sense, put the devil on the wall. The next world war, which I continue to resent the scientific experts for. You ruined my childhood. At that time, they persuaded me that they were about 10 years old. Global cooling. The sun will stop its activity, it won't be for long. Because the science experts came, the magazine Nature also jumped on it. Really big magazines. The scientists took dry ice bars into these black and white television studios and then showed diagrams. And it was so suggestive that I actually learned the song in kindergarten. Yes, in Russian. Always live the sun. Then I thought, shit, the kindergarten song isn't even right anymore. The sun will not always live. Because then is the next conclusion. My mom will always be alive and I will always be there. Then everything is for the cat. If there is no sun, there is no mom and not me. So really pay attention to what are the values that really matter. Concentrate on them. Don't let yourself be misled, regardless of whether the sun gets hot or cold. Follow your heart. No one says to the other, "No God," because wisdom is written directly on their hearts. And your heart will only speak to you when you are free from fear and pain. The freer it is, the more you have this Holy Spirit. So, a consciousness that is not hunted and clouded by mental poisons.